Last November, the American people voted for change. And I think it's appropriate today, as we are considering the conference report on the budget, which is the blueprint for our nation, and we also celebrate the 100th day of Barack Obama's presidency and his administration. I think it's time to reflect on where we've been for these last 100 days and the changes that have occurred. But at first, it's important to point out the mess that President Obama inherited. The United States is engaged in 2 wars. We have the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, inherited by this administration, record deficits inherited by this administration, United States international reputation badly damaged. In 100 days, the Obama administration, working with us in Congress, has an impressive record of accomplishments. I think it's important to point out that the number one priority, as all my constituents tell me on a daily basis, is to fix our economy. Our economy is in deep trouble. The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act put the recovery of our economy first by creating jobs. We need more jobs, save jobs, create jobs. And the Obama administration put that as their top priority. But they also invested in America's future, in education, in health care, and in energy, protecting our essential services for America's most vulnerable people, and providing tax cuts to help restore consumer confidence in our economy. We've done a lot during the first 100 days, quite a record. And today, we're on the verge of passing the budget, the conference report, which will provide a new blueprint for America's future. What are the priorities? Well, the priorities first are the economy. Again, we've got to get out of this recession. And this budget allows us to invest in creating new jobs. It will do it in a fiscally responsible way, and will invest in health care, energy, and education. President Obama, as I pointed out earlier, inherited quite a fiscal mess. President Bush, during the 8 years of his presidency, started with a surplus, Madam President. Let me remind you, 8 years ago we had a surplus, $236 billion surplus in 2000. Well, the current year's deficit is $1.75 trillion. This was fiscal recklessness of the Bush administration that's been inherited by the Obama administration. It's cost us jobs. We're losing 500,000 jobs each and every month. That's what was confronting President Obama when he took office. We have a housing crisis, people losing their homes. They're still losing their homes today. We've got to pay attention to that. We've got to give confidence that people can keep their homes. It's important for the individual, it's important for our community, it's important for our economy. Banks aren't lending money. They still aren't lending money. We've got to get our financial system working the way it should so that America can grow. We've got to help small businesses. That's the growth engine of America in order to create jobs and move forward with innovation. And what we need to do is have a budget that puts our priorities on America's future. Well, the budget that President Obama, that we're about ready to pass, does that. It helps our economy, but does it in a fiscally responsible way. This budget allows us to save money in the healthcare system by investing in preventive health care. If we get more people tests for early detection of diseases, it will save us money. It invests in health information technology so that we can eliminate a lot of the waste in our healthcare system, the administrative costs. Not only will it eliminate costs, unnecessary costs, but you'll have better management of care. Doctors and hospitals will be able to communicate with each other. They'll understand the complexities of your own individual health history and be able to develop health protocols to give you the most cost-effective quality care. That's using technology to help us. We need to deal with disparities in health care. We know that there's gaps across racial and ethnic lines. We need to narrow that, pay attention to it. This budget allows us to move in that direction to eliminate these disparities. The budget allows us to reform our own Medicare system. Medicare is the largest insurance program in our country. Our elderly and disabled depend upon our Medicare system. But our Medicare system needs to be changed and reformed. Just ask any physician about the sustainable growth rate methodology for reforming, for paying their fees every year. We've got to change that. We've got to eliminate this physical therapy rehab cap. Makes no sense at all. Well, this budget resolution allows us to reform the Medicare system to make it more cost-effective. And the budget resolution provides for the backup of budget reconciliation instructions. Now, what does that mean, Madam President? Well, I'm going to give you my interpretation. That allows us to use regular order to get this issue dealt with, to get health care dealt with. We've been talking about it for years. It's time to act. It's time to fix our health care system. And this is not a partisan issue. It's not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. This is an issue that affects our country. It's an American issue. We need to work together on it. But it's not regular order to use filibusters to prevent this body from taking up these issues. And that's what the budget reform process was all about many years ago. And I hope that every member of this body will work together so we can fix our health care system. That's what we need to do. No one has a monopoly on the best ideas. President Obama has reached out and said, look, I know what we need to accomplish. You know what we need to accomplish. Now let's work together and get it done so that we can make health care more accessible. People can get quality care in a much more cost-effective way, saving the taxpayers of this country money, helping our economy grow, making American companies more competitive internationally if we fix the health care system. All that is possible, the reward, if we get it done right. And I want to compliment, I see the chairman of the Budget Committee who's on the floor, Senator Conrad. I want to thank him for his leadership on these issues. We now have a budget that will allow us to deal with this priority. But the budget resolution also recognizes that for America to be strong, we also need to become energy independent. And the budget resolution allows us, our committees, to do that. We need to become energy independent for the sake of our economy. We saw the impact on our economy when energy prices went up and down and we had very little to do with it. But if we get the energy policy right, we're going to create green jobs, more jobs in America. This is about our economy. This is about helping America grow. So smart energy, energy independence is the right thing to help our economy. By the way, it's also important for national security. We shouldn't be challenged to fight wars just because we need imported oil. Let's become energy independent for the sake of our national security. And yes, let's become energy independent using good green technology because it's good for our environment and we can do something about global climate change working with the international community. But the budget goes further and says, look, if we're going to be a strong nation, if we're going to get our future budgets in balance, if we're going to be competitive internationally, if our economy is going to grow and American standard of living is going to grow, we've got to invest in education. Education's got to be our top priority. And we can do a much better job in pre-K through 12 and quality education. Every child should have access to a quality school. Well, this budget resolution allows our committees to move in that direction and to bring down the cost of higher education for the typical family. Too many families today are being denied the opportunity to send their child to college because they simply cannot afford the cost of higher education. Well, the Pell Grants, we've increased it. It's another great record of this Congress. We increased the Pell Grants. This budget resolution allows us to go further to bring down the cost of higher education. The budget resolution recognizes that we have to empower families to be able to afford to participate in our economy so that tax relief to middle-income families is extended and expanded in this budget resolution. The budget resolution recognizes that small businesses are the driving force behind job creation. Most of our jobs are going to be created by small businesses. Innovation comes from small companies. So this budget resolution allows us to continue to the incentives so that small companies can get the credit they need, can get the help that they need to be able to not only survive this economic downturn, but to turn it around and create new jobs. And I particularly want to thank the conferees for continuing to include the increase, the 25% increase in the Small Business Administration, an agency that was decimated under the prior administration. I offered an amendment in the committee, it was adopted, that increases that appropriation to $880 million. We want the SBA to be the advocate for the small business community, to fight government agencies to make sure that they make contracts available to small companies, to help mentor small companies so they have a business plan that can get a loan from a bank. That's what we want the SBA to do. And now, with this budget support, the SBA should be able to build and help our small businesses in America. Well, Madam President, last November, Americans voted for a change. We are delivering on that expectation. This budget resolution that's come out of the conference committee allows our committees working with President Obama to tackle the tough challenges confronting our nation. The conference committee gives us the blueprint we need by focusing on different areas for helping in tax relief, for bringing our budget better into balance, for helping working families and investing in universal health care, in educational opportunities, and energy independence. I would urge my colleagues to support the work that has been done by our conferees. It lets us to work together to rebuild and revitalize our nation.